Hello, everybody. You heard the man. This is the Zero Hour, and I am Richard RJ Eskow. And it is time, as this new year begins, it is time to get real on the economy. There's been a lot of talk about a recovery lately, but most people will tell you, if you ask them, that things for them still aren't that great. Economic inequality, which we've heard a lot of chatter about, is going through the roof. Social mobility is declining. Earning at most income levels is stagnant or falling, and the percentage of working age Americans who are actually working is lower than it's been since 1978. And yet, as Republicans take control of the Senate and consolidate their hold on the House, they're prepared to double down on the very same policies which created this economic mess in the first place. Austerity budget cuts, low taxes for billionaires and corporations, and deregulation. Now, how will the Democrats respond to that? Will they come up with clear and concrete ideas and proposals that excite the American people, or will they stick with vague platitudes? Sure, lately, even some of the most corporate Democrats around have been incorporating inequality into their rhetoric. Sometimes you hear them talk about wages, too, or social mobility, but when they talk about social mobility, they usually use the word opportunity in there somewhere. But name-checking the problem isn't going to be enough. Opportunity, for one thing, is an old Republican catchphrase, and inequality, without being specific about what you're going to do about it, it's kind of hard for voters to wrap their heads around, right? I mean, inequality, what does that really mean? It's got to be connected with the lived experience of most Americans. It's got to be translated from an abstraction into the world of real life. We've already seen populist messaging that works, like Senator Elizabeth Warren's statement that the rules are rigged for the few at the expense of the many. People get that. But what would the economic goals of an unrigged economy look like? The broadest answer might look like this. It would be focused on more jobs, better wages for people who are working, and robust growth, meaning growth that's going to last and that benefits everybody. So that's it. More jobs, better wages, robust growth. Can the Democrats and can the left get real around these economic goals? Sure, we saw economic growth in the last quarter, but robust growth would lead to rising wages, and we didn't see much of that. That was fairly weak. All of those goals, in fact, go hand in hand. You can't lower unemployment or raise wages substantially unless the economy is growing in a strong and stable way. That means building up those parts of the economy that create human work. Building, managing, serving, teaching, healing, that kind of stuff. You can't get there by inflating stock market bubbles or driving an ever-increasing percentage of corporate profits through the non-productive, wasteful, and greedy banking sector. So proposals like Senator Bernie Sanders' $1 trillion infrastructure spending bill, that's good. That makes sense because it speaks to this clearly defined agenda of fixing inequality. That is to say, more jobs, better wages, and robust growth. Now, the American Society of Civil Engineers thinks we should spend $3.6 trillion to fix our infrastructure, so $1 trillion seems reasonable, too. Now, that's what we call turning something abstract like inequality into something concrete. In the case of infrastructure, which is roads and bridges, literally concrete. Now, there are other ways to make the fairness agenda concrete, too. People understand that millions of jobs were lost in the last financial crisis. They know that their income has fallen behind since then, and they know that the billionaires are getting more and more of the economy. So, stronger oversight of Wall Street, better regulation, fair compensation packages, allowing stockholders to vote on how much their CEOs get. All of that is going to change the psychology, the way these corporations are managed, the way the banks are managed. All of that will help. We'll also need more spending like that infrastructure bill to put people back to work. And we'll need to avoid future recessions by getting away from the psychology of greed. And let's close with that. Let's talk about the psychology of greed for a second. It's a great way to kind of clear away the rhetoric and get to the point if you talk about jobs, wages, and growth. So that if someone comes to you backed by some billionaires and says, I have a proposal for this or that, tax cuts for billionaires, just ask them, how does that make jobs? How does that improve wages? How does that contribute to growth? With that, I think you'll get the answer you want. Are they on your side or the other guys? I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.